cooking with gas. Yes, indeed. We're making an undone skillet cabbage rolls. How do you like that? In other words, this is what I did to those poor little sad cabbage rolls. See? Usually what you do is you steam up those leaves, then you roll them up with this big mixture, and it takes all freaking day. We want to get a meal on the table fast, and that's exactly what we're going to do. First of all, who doesn't love cabbage? There's so many things you can do with it, and I'm telling you, I think the only thing that will ever survive a nuclear holocaust are cockroaches and cabbages, because this is the only vegetable that I know that will live forever. It absolutely lasts forever, and it's full of sulforaphane. This is a cruciferous vegetable, good for fighting cancer, good source of fiber, and come on, it's really good for you, and it's really mild. It doesn't give you, I mean, you can eat it raw, you can have it in a coleslaw, you can have it cooked, you can have it any way you like it. But this way, you're really going to enjoy. So let me show you what I'm making. I'm showing you this cabbage too, because I have half of this already sliced up, so you can see the size of the cabbage that I'm using. I'm going to say there's about 3 cups of sliced cabbage there, maybe 4. But again, this is super easy to do. We've got 1 small onion right here, small to medium onion, that we're going to go ahead and saute in a little bit of ghee. And again, I'm always using ghee or avocado oil because of the smoke point. When you start using olive oil and stuff, especially an extra virgin olive oil, the smoke point is too low for sauteing. Skillet meals require sauteing. So this is how we start them. Get those onions going. And you can see that I've got my trusty top here, because that is going to be important. You see all this cabbage right here? That cabbage is going to require a little bit of steam to bring it down so that it's manageable. Because when I first put this in, you're going to say to me, wow, there's no room for anything, but I promise you it shrinks up. We also have a pound of ground beef. Now this is grass-fed ground beef that we were fortunate to get at our grocery outlet of all places. And we've also gotten a good bunch of it from Butcher Box, which is absolutely excellent. If you can find, if it's available, if it's affordable, grass-fed is always preferable. It's a better deal. Also, I'm going to be using some diced tomatoes. Now, I would normally use a standard, 14.5-ounce can, but we didn't have one. So I'm using what I have, and I've got a spoon in there because I'm going to spoon it all out. The remainder I will take and put in a Ziploc bag and stick it in the freezer. You can always use it for later, right? I've also got some smoked paprika, garlic, of course, salt and pepper, and then I have a little bit of an Italian blend here that has thyme, oregano, and marjoram in it. And, oh, of course, the bone broth. The bone broth, I always add, you won't see this in standard recipes. I always add it to pretty much everything. Every single day we use that. You can watch my bone broth start right here and work its way all the way through. It's pretty great. So these onions are doing their thing. You remember what we do. We put them in nice and hot. And what we're looking for is translucent. That means it's going to lose the opaqueness and become clear, and look through it, like I have to explain that to you, right? There you go. And by the way, share this video with your friends, because they're going to want to make this recipe. It's that glorious. They're going to want to make this. Another minute or two. Get these nice and clear. Super easy. Now, what are you going to serve this with? I'm so glad you asked. You want to serve this over some rice. What kind of rice? Well, standard issue for cabbage rolls is white rice. So whatever you want to do, but serve it with some rice or some kind of a grain. You can even do a quinoa with it if you want. If you're grainless, if you're low carbing it or whatever, a cauli rice is nice. Then you're going doubling down on your cruciferous vegetables. Good for you. You can do that. But it's really tasty, really easy to make, and super delicious. Plus, it'll make 1 pound of hamburger go a long, long way. You'll get lots of leftovers with this, if it's just the 2 of you. Let's get 2 seconds for that. I'm gonna put this here. And by the way, this is what I use. I use these tongs when I'm cooking with cabbage because you can do this number with it. Do you understand what I'm doing with this? You'll see in a minute. Okay. I also need another spoon. And this recipe originally, and I'm doing, of course I'm riffing with my recipe here, but I believe this was in the low carb book, Saving Dinner the Low Carb Way. Pretty sure it was. One of my books is. And then I also had another cabbage roll, kind of an undone cabbage roll recipe that was done in a crock pot. This can be done in a crock pot. The only thing that you're going to want to do though is brown up the beef first. If you brown up the ground beef first, you can put the whole thing in, put the lid on it, and forget about it. You put it on low for about 4 to 6 hours, depending. You want the cabbage cooked, of course. No questions yet?
People like your hair.
Thank you. You can see it in the back. I've got probably pins sticking everywhere. So that's great. Are you sharing these videos, by the way? Share these videos because this is something, and by the way, this recipe that I'm making today is totally sprint friendly, minus the rice, of course. Totally a sprint friendly meal. So if you're going to be doing the sprint with us on Monday, we start a week from today. Watch what I'm doing, write it down so that you can remember it. This is a fantastic, easy, should be a staple recipe in everybody's repertoire. Okay, those onions look good to me. And at this point, I am going to add the ground beef. My friend, the ground beef. Now, one of the things that I'm a little persnickety bit, oh great. I need a thing. There we go. One of the things about ground beef that I'm kind of persnickety about, and you'll oftentimes see in recipes, they don't add anything to it. They just ground the beef and then they start adding stuff to it. I think it's so much better if you add seasonings to it as it's cooking, then it cooks into the meat. That's a little bonus tip for you. Okay, so now that we have it there, I'm going to get a little salt and a little pepper. Always start with the salt and pepper. And I'm going to use a part of this. Now, I have about 1.5 teaspoons here. I'm just going to grab some of it, and again, dried herbs are basically leaves, and you want to smush them with your hands, grind them up, so that they release their essential oils and their deliciousness. Then you can smell them. I'm also going to add a little bit of smoked paprika because it's lovely. And then give it a little turn around. Now, as soon as this is done cooking, we're going to, I dropped an onion, and we'll put it back in. As soon as this is done, the ground beef is done cooking, then we're going to add the cabbage, okay? We'll add the cabbage and get it going, and then we're going to add the diced tomatoes and a little bit of bone broth, and then we have to just let it simmer. But I love things simmering on the stovetop. It's so nice. So if you're wondering how to get the sprint, go to savingdinner.com. It's right there as soon as you get there, and it's free. All 18 pages will explain the reasons, the why-fors, and why we're doing the sprint the way that we do it, and you'll understand this. And believe me, listen, if you've been in quarantine, hibernation mode, and what have you, maybe you've been baking, maybe you put on a couple of pounds, maybe you're feeling just a little less than like yourself. This is just the thing for you. It will clear the decks, get rid of the inflammation, and you'll feel like a new woman. Ask my gals who are here. There's a bunch of gals here who are doing it and have done it over and over again. We always do it once a month. We do it with Fly Lady. If you're familiar with Fly Lady, which I know most of you are. Cook up, my friends. Cook up. There it is. Also, we have a lot of you who have joined us in Dinner Answers. And Dinner Answers is our subscription menu planning program. We're the first ones on the planet to do such a thing. We respect the way everyone eats. As long as you're eating real food, you will get a plan from us. You can check it out at savingdinner.com and see where it says Dinner Answers on that front page and click on it. And basically we send you menus, recipes, shopping lists every single Tuesday and support you in the way that you eat. You in return get to support us. And we really appreciate that. Small woman-owned business, etc. And let me just say this, $7 a month. We've lowered the price. We're calling it pandemic pricing. And you will get locked into that forever and ever, amen. We will never raise your price. Okay, look. Doesn't it look lovely? So far, so good. Okay, and now it's time to get into the cabbage department. This is important because this cabbage has a lot of shrinking to do. You can see it? And you know, at this point too, I always find pieces that are just kind of need a little bit more choppity chop, and I'll just pull them out. Because there's, you know how it is, there's nice leaves and then there's like husky, hardier pieces. And just in order to get them done, that's what I do. I'll put this on here for just half a minute, but I'm going to give these guys all a nice little, just a quick choppity chop. And you guys, if you have anything that you want to see me cook, within reason, don't ask me to make any baking stuff, please. There are bakers in this world and there are cooks. I am a cook. Although some people can do both, I'm not so adept. Ask me how my starter went. My daughter keeps asking me, how's your starter? How's your starter? I killed the starter. I shot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy. All right, that's just a little salt and pepper. And again, we want to get this going for just half a minute. All the heat is going to help this stuff to wilt just a minute. And then I'm going to go in there with my tongs. And the tongs are going to do a lot of the work for me. Don't lose a leaf. Isn't this great?
Interesting comment.
What?
I see people taste as they cook, and I never see you do that.
I do taste as I cook.
Just at this stage,
Well,
you
I
don't
mean,
need to.
the kind of things that I'm making don't require that kind of thing, but if I'm building a sauce or whatever, I'll stick a spoon in there. Maybe I just need to make something a little more complex. I'm always thinking about you, and I'm always thinking about the fact that you are likely to need something quick and simple and easy to get on the table. You know, if you've got a family or whatever, or you just don't want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. Okay, so watch. See this? Uh-oh. That's all right. You see this? Look how it's, wow. See how it's coming out of the pot? Okay, just one more second here, but it's starting to steam and it's starting to fall down a little bit, which is wonderful. Do your thing, honey. I'm watching it. And then we're going to add, like I said, we're going to add those tomatoes. That's probably going to be, now this is a, I don't know, 28 ounce can of tomatoes, so we're probably going to be adding half of that. And I want some of that juice, but I don't want all of it. I also need to get that garlic prepared. You guys have seen this. This is massively entertaining with my garlic, rocker, available on Amazon.
And that's just standard cabbage, right?
Standard cabbage. You can use any cabbage you want. The only thing that I find is purple cabbage, which, by the way, has a little more phytonutrients. The color tells you that. Purple cabbage is fantastic, but it's also going to, you know, might look a little off with the tomato juice and everything in there, the tomato sauce and stuff in there. But you could certainly do it, yes. And believe me, this is going to cook down even more once I have all the liquid in there. But you see how much it's already shrunken down? It shrunk down to almost half. Take a peek-see. Do you want to take a peek-see?
Well, we can see it pretty well, but
No, I know, but it's better to go. Pretend we're Food Network.
Oh, you have to pay me more.
Nope, that ain't happening. See that? Isn't that pretty? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and leave the lid off for half a second because I want to get the garlic in. There we go. Garlic's in the house. Yes, I just threw the skins in there, but they're not really skins. As Mark pointed out the other day, he said, why do you say they're skins? They're not skins. They're just garlic cloves. And I said, good point. So now somebody's going to get a big mouthful of garlic. Or you could take it out and chop it up, but I just did it the lazy woman's way. Question?
Someone said she was instructed not to use tomatoes in a cast iron because it's too acidic.
You know what? I've heard that too, but I've done it. And I've never had a problem with it. It will pit aluminum, but I've put tomatoes in here before. I've cooked spaghetti sauce and what have you in here before. A well-seasoned pan will be okay. I'm going to give it, first of all, a little bone broth action. I'm going to do 2 ladles full because I'm all about the bone broth. Now, you can do it without the bone broth, but I'm like, I've got it. It's good for you. It adds flavor. It gives you a little more moisture. Why wouldn't I? Okay, and then I'm going to add these tomatoes.
And you did not drain the ground beef.
I did not drain the ground beef. There wasn't that much fat. If it was fat and nasty and just greasy and floating everywhere, you bet I'd be floating. I'd be doing that. Now, this is the part where you add, and I should have some tomato paste, but I don't, so I'm just doing it without. And it's not going to be nearly as tomato-y as I like, but I have no tomato sauce. I have this, and I can take the rest of that tomatoes, actually, if I wanted to, put it in the blender, and then I'll have more of a tomato paste. But for right now, this is fine. Now, again, you want this to simmer until everything is nice and tender. Then you go and taste it and correct the seasoning if you need to. That's where you're going to find out if your salt and pepper is really doing its job, and if you have enough garlic in there and all the rest of it.
What is it, about a 10-inch skillet?
I don't know. You're the hand guy. You do the hand thing. What I'm going to say 12.
That's probably
10?
at least a 10.
Yeah. I mean, a big skillet, just fill up your skillet, you know, and you saw the way that I did it. I used 1 pound of ground beef. I used a smallish, mediumish onion, a whole onion chopped up. I used half a can of tomatoes. I used 2, I would say that would equal about a cup of bone broth. And then various herbs and seasonings, and there you are. It's done. That's dinner. Make the rice, and don't forget when you serve it, you want to have sour cream on there. What?
They like your hair. They don't want me to mess it up tonight.
Okay. It's not that kind of show, you guys. All right, so there you go. So this is exactly how you make a lovely, lovely, most delicious skillet undone cabbage rolls. And it already smells yummy. Ta-da! Hope you enjoyed that. Join me tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll be doing it again. And don't forget, I'm on at 1 p.m. too. Every single day we're talking about whatever it is that we talk about. So tomorrow's Tuesday's tips, we'll have some tip for you to help you out. But don't forget to join us on the sprint. Really, I can't even emphasize how important this sprint is. I think this is something we all need. We need this reset. We need the community of women that go with it. And I will tell you something else, that it is the best support, the best encouragement, and the best community of women you could ever hang around with. That's what I promise you. SavingDinner.com to go get it. It's free. Share this with your friends. Peace.